All right, thanks for tuning in to this live special edition on Proline TV, the Our Lads Football Network. A little after 2:30 Eastern on Sunday, October the 12th, 2025. And I usually don't start off by talking too much about the date, but I think this date was necessary for this video because of the special occasion. Marty and I talked about this last night following the Penn State loss to Northwestern, that this was most likely the scenario, and it has definitely occurred in the manner in which we thought it would, and that is that head coach James Franklin has been let go. I'm going to bring in our resident Penn State analysts. You can check them out every Wednesday and every Saturday following a Penn State football game. Marty and Dylan, these guys have been fans for a long time. They've been covering this team for a long time. And guys, I'm going to let you burn because I know you got a lot to say. Marty?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Greg, you and I talked about it last night. It was pretty clear the writing was on the. I think the writing was on the wall after the UCLA game, but especially after yesterday, this is where we were going to be. And as the night went on last night, there just continued to be more and more smoke out there in the Penn State world, on message boards, whatever it was, that something was being negotiated between James and the school. With both sides almost looking for an out. It came off as now, obviously he was fired. But I'm sure the buyout, they're going to work something out there. I doubt they're going to pay the full $56 million. But it's just really unfortunate for a lot of reasons. The biggest of which being this was, again, supposed to be the year. This is going to go down, maybe as the most disappointing season in program history when you look at what the expectations were. And here we are on October 12th talking about a new head coach. It's super unfortunate. James Franklin's a guy that by all accounts has always been a tremendous person. He loves his players. He loves Penn State. He wanted to be the guy that got them over that hump and brought a national championship back to State College, and they came close more than once. And unfortunately, it never happened. And just the way this season's gone, I don't think Pat Kraft really had a choice at this point. And also, if you're Penn State, and Greg, you and I talked about this last night. Today, you had to either do this or come out in full support of him. There was no in between.
Yep.
And if you're going to move on, now is the time because you're going to get a jump start. Look at the other schools who fired their coaches. They're not in the same pool as you are for coaching hires. So of whatever the big jobs are that open this cycle, Florida State, maybe Auburn, you have a head start on all of those schools in terms of reaching out, talking to coaches, talking to agents, starting to line up interviews, that sort of thing. So I'm sure that was as big of a factor as anything as well.
He put a lot of it perfectly. I'll let him keep that aspect of this. I mean, to me, I just sit here, like you said, October 12th, 2025. It's kind of unimaginable to think where this program has gone over the last 21, 22 days, whatever it may be. I mean, 3 weeks ago, a little over 3 weeks ago, Penn State went up on Oregon in overtime, and it looked like they were maybe going to finally pull off one of the big wins that they've been desperately seeking over the last couple of years. And we know what happened. Drew Aller eventually throws an interception that ends the game. They go into UCLA the next week, lose. This week they lose to Northwestern. But when they went up in overtime against Oregon, it seemed like maybe this was the chance for them to take that next step, get to that level where they desperately wanted to be. They poured everything they had from last year in the offseason into this season for that game and the Ohio State game. And when they didn't win that Oregon game, it felt like a breaking point for the fan base in terms of if it wasn't going to happen this game, it's never going to happen. And I think I agreed with that sentiment. But it feels like it went beyond that. It feels like as a program, as a team, it was the one that finally broke the camel's back, per se. It was the one that, destroyed all confidence within the Lash football building that, they were going to be able to eventually do this and get it to where they wanted to be. And I think the results on the field the last 2 weeks showed that. And it was a ticking time bomb once they lost to UCLA. And then this past week or yesterday with the loss to Northwestern, I mean, it crossed a point of no return. It was a matter of when, not if, when it came to his firing. And with Drew Aller now after the season, I mean, this is a team that went from number 2 in the preseason was a top 5 team just 3 weeks ago, they may now go 3-9, 4-8 at best. It's just unimaginable to believe where it all went wrong just so fast for Penn State. I think it's ultimately the best move for Penn State at this point to start building towards the future. But yeah, just unbelievable to think how this has all transpired so fast for Penn State.
What were your thoughts last night? We weren't able to get them, Dylan.
Yeah.
Did you feel the way that Marty and I felt, that this was one or the other? And what did you think more of? Because I actually felt more of there was no way that he was going to survive this. Did you kind of feel the same way, or were you 50-50?
I was thinking as that game went on that if they lost this, he absolutely had to be fired sooner than later. But it was one of those things where I wasn't going to believe it until I saw it. I thought the firing may come at the end of the season, but I thought it definitely should have came today. I just wasn't. I was only going to believe it though when I saw it. But yeah, I was definitely more with you that after yesterday, it had to be done as soon as possible. And credit to Pat Kraft and whichever donors are paying this buyout, because this is a tough decision to make. And I tweeted this on the podcast account. This is the right decision that had to be made, and it is what it is. But long term, I do hope that maybe after the next head coach perhaps is able to take Penn State to that next level, that people one day are able to appreciate what Franklin did accomplish in his tenure, because there's no doubt that from the day he took over the program on January 11th, 2014 to October 12th, 2025, the program is absolutely 100% in a better place than he left it. But right now, it doesn't feel like that for Penn State fans. It's hard to really think about the big picture. But I do hope just long term that Penn State fans one day are able to appreciate what he did for the program.
Sure.
But right now, it's also, I'm not going to blame anybody for having a lot of anger and being upset about where this program sits today. Because, we talked about it all season long. What was poured into this team this offseason, not just from within the Lash football building, but from huge donors and boosters, it was untenable to continue with what was happening these last 2 weeks.
All right. So what do we know as far as the story that just came out? Do we know any specifics regarding the buyout, anything like that?
No, I know I haven't seen anything other than what the buyout is. So it's I've seen a bunch of different numbers. Some places have said 56 million, some have said 49. Regardless, it's the second highest buyout in college football history that's going to get paid, other than Jimbo Fisher's. But you and I talked about it last night, Greg. Like, if you have an athletic department the size of Penn State, you can find a way to make these things happen. And it doesn't have to be paid in a lump sum, which works in their favor. They have till the end of the calendar year in 2031 to pay it. So I'm sure that'll be part of it. And I won't be surprised too if something was negotiated with the Franklin camp to kind of work that number down some. Because it was some of the things that were kind of out there with the smoke and whatnot of it last night, was that part of this was James maybe looking to get out of there to save his own career, however you want to put it, because there's going to be jobs opening up this cycle that he'd be a good fit for. Obviously, the guy's not going to want to quit coaching yet. He's not even 60. So some of it could be on his end where, hey, I'll work this out with you to drive this number down to make it easier for me to move on with my life's work. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough what the final number is they have to pay. But I'm sure, if you were Penn State and you were that concerned that you would not be able to pay this buyout and then have as much money as you need to go and get your next head coach, I don't think the move would have been made. So I don't think that's something people need to worry about. Again, it's Penn State. They have a massive ability, like just money at their disposal for the athletic department. Also, some of the deeper pocket donors that Penn State football can have at their disposal weren't fans of James Franklin and hadn't been for a long time. So I think, some of them would be more than willing to help pay it. I also think some of them are going to be more than willing to help offset what has to be paid to him to help go get a new coach. So that's That's one of those things that, I mean, people don't follow Penn State closely, probably don't realize that, but there's always been a lot of internal strife there of some of the more powerful brokers in the Penn State world who weren't Franklin fans, probably not doing as much as they could have or would have for a different coach, which, I mean, moving forward, hey, we'll see if that changes.
And the other thing out of that, I mean, this isn't just a $48 million buyout for Franklin. I mean, it's very unlikely that a majority of this coaching staff sticks around to the next head coach. Maybe a couple pieces do. Terry Smith is obviously a guy, the interim head coach currently,
Yes,
that you would consider as probably a favorite to continue with the staff. But also, I can see Terry Smith fully wanting to retire at this point in his career. But when you talk about the entire staff, this is going to be a buyout that is, I believe, I forget what Penn State reporter mentioned it a couple weeks ago, but the number really goes to upwards of $100 million when you think about all the money that's going to be involved here in terms of buyout. So this is definitely, like I said, no easy decision. This was a decision that was not just Pat Kraft. And as our good friend Clay just said on Twitter, a big reason this move was made is because in college football and college athletics, sports in general, you're not selling the team or sport to the fans. You're selling the idea of hope to win. And Penn State fans have lost all hope, and boosters have lost all hope in James Franklin and the current staff to get it done. So, and the other thing I would add is I've seen people throw out names like assistant names like D'Anton Lynn as potential options for Penn State. And sure, they may be options, but you're not firing James Franklin to go hire a first-time head coach.
If you do fire James Franklin first-time head coach, it's not D'Anton Lynn. It's Glenn Schumann. It's Will Stein. It's one of these Ben Arbuckle. It's one of those rising superstar guys that you go get. Right.
But I personally don't think he'll be a first-time head coach. I think they're going to try to hire somebody from elsewhere. But you also don't fire James. Yeah, again, you have to sell hope. But you don't fire James Franklin right now if you don't have an idea in mind of who your top 2-3 candidates are going to be for that job as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's see here. Let me pop in. This is where is this from? This is from College Football on SI. Let me see if I can get this up here. Shouldn't take long. Here it is. This is their 5, and we're going to get a bunch of these candidate possibilities. So what do you think about these candidates? Alex Golish for South Florida. Now, again, we talked about this, Marty, in my mind. Now, you think that Sumrall to go into the group of 5, that would be a name. I believe that if you're going to do that, and if all of a sudden Ricky Ronnie takes Old Dominion to the playoffs, he has to be a hot candidate from the group of 5 with his connection to the university. But Alex Golish is also a name that makes a lot of sense because South Florida looks pretty good to be that team that goes to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, when we talked about that, Golish kind of slipped my mind. I do agree, but I think Golish, if you look at his coaching, just where he's been, Tennessee before that, now South Florida, I think similar to some things I've said about John Summerall, where I'm not sure Golish wants to leave the South. And I think Golish should be able to get
even for Penn State.
Yeah, but here's my thing. If you look at some of the Florida's going to open, Florida State's probably going to open.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
That's where I think I see with, and that would be different if that wasn't going to be this cycle.
Okay.
I mean, I think at least a couple major, like Florida and Florida State are definitely going to open.
I will say Golish, Ohio State alum, coach at Ohio State from Ohio. So he does have ties to the North. I don't really consider Ohio Northeast, but he has ties to the North. So that is there. I also just found out that he was born in Russia, which is a fun fact. But
I did know that actually.
But I personally think Golish would be an intriguing candidate for the job. I do like what he's done in South Florida, but I do think Marty has a good point that he's done really well in the South with UCF, Tennessee, and now USF. So definitely a lot of ties down there, and I'm sure Florida and Florida State will have their eyes on him if they do make their own coaching changes here this season.
So Penn State fans would not be upset at all about hearing that a Ohio State alum became the head coach of Penn State.
I would hope not.
No, I don't think the Ohio State alum part. No, I think there'll be a portion of the fan base that would be unsatisfied with the hire just because you look at it,
It's not a sexy name.
Not a sexy name. He's been in one coaching stop, 19 and 13. That being said, at USF, he took over a terrible program.
Yep.
He's built them into a really, really good group of 6 program here. I think there would be I think it would be a hire that wouldn't be divisive, but there'd definitely be a portion of the fan base that would not be satisfied. There's definitely a portion of the fan base right now that is expecting this to be a big name for sure. And I think Golish is for us is a big name because we are deeper into this than the casual football fan, but not big enough for your casual football / Penn State fan.
And we talked, just so you know, Calix Rose, we did talk about Lynn just a few minutes ago.
I don't. Yeah, to me, Lynn's not a guy you even.
That's the name that more of is like even lower than like a Golish as far as.
If Lynn went to college literally anywhere else, no one would mention him.
I wouldn't be surprised if Penn State gives him a courtesy call, maybe gives him a courtesy interview, just one. He is a Penn State alum. It will, as long
as your letterman where you can.
Yeah, that helps. Sure.
Because if he gets that interview for Penn State, it will open eyes from other people. I don't expect him to get the job. No. And I think it would be an incredibly risky hire for Penn State just because, yes, the program right now is in a weird spot. It's going to be in a weird spot for the next couple of months with no head coach until this winter. But and while they have lost 3 straight, they're going to go 4-8, 3-9 this year. The program is still overall in a healthy spot. It shouldn't have to be a super long turnaround.
No.
So you want to hire a coach that can come in, and maybe you're not a playoff team next year, but gets you in the right direction, and you have to be sure he is the guy. I don't know if you're Pat Kraft, you can absolutely hire Lynn and be like, yeah, he is the right guy for the job.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Dylan, this shouldn't be a long-term rebuild. I mean, hell, you look at next year. I understand they got to replace a lot, but there's other than Michigan, and that schedule's a cakewalk. There's no reason they can't get a good hire and get guys in here via the portal and be a playoff team again next year. So yeah, I'm with you. You want to make sure you get the right guy because ultimately you're still Penn State, right? You're still Penn State. Like,
great job, absolutely.
It's undeniably a top 15 job in the country. You can win a national championship at Penn State, and there's 136 FBS schools. You can't win a national championship at probably 110 to 120 of them. Penn State's one of the schools where you can win it all.
Jim Knowles.
No.
And of course, this to me would be a big no.
Yeah. And now the new head coach, whoever it is, I'm not going to fault them if they want to keep Jim Knowles around as defensive coordinator. Yeah. I know things haven't been great this year, but there's no denying Knowles is still one of the best defensive minds in football.
3 years.
Yeah. He didn't just get dumb in a couple of weeks.
And 3 years. Give him the time to bring, like Dylan's saying, bring his guys in, get his system right. So I'm not going to be surprised. The 3 coaches, Knowles, Terry Smith, and Anthony Poindexter, are the 3 that I'm assuming the new head coach will be very interested in keeping. But Jim Knowles is not going to be that coach.
3 years is the time that it takes Jim Knowles usually to get his defense right. It happened in Oklahoma State. It happened in Ohio State. Credit to Ohio State fans. When Penn State hired Jim Knowles, and Penn State fans thought it was going to be a quick, just like that, Penn State's best defense in the country. They're like, hey, it took us 3 years to get to where we were. Maybe it takes him 2 years, but if he comes back next year. Which, it is a pretty big salary. If I think Pat Kraft, whoever he hires, is going to be like, hey, we do have this really nice defensive coordinator here for you.
It's a nice
if you want to keep him around, that would really help us out.
And especially too if you're coming in, as a new coach with Jim Knowles, and again also with Terry Smith because Terry's been here forever and is an alum and is a letterman and just gets it. Why wouldn't you want to keep those guys around for the players who don't portal out? Is just that middleman to help, with all of that, right? Even the coaching acumen aside, just that alone, I think is important.
Here's my big thing. He hasn't been a coach in over a decade. He's already 60. If you're Penn State, I would go towards a younger head coach here.
Absolutely.
Doesn't have to be 30, but somebody between 30 and 45. Because, ideally, you want to hire a head coach who could be around your program for 15, 20 years in an ideal world, right? It's probably not going to happen, but
with Penn State too. I mean, Greg, you and I talked about this a little bit last night. Penn State fans don't know what a coaching search is, right? Because you had Joe Paterno forever. Bill O'Brien came in at a time when absolutely nobody wanted to take the job. And then when O'Brien moved on to the NFL, I think everybody knew it was either going to be most likely be James Franklin. If it wasn't James Franklin, it was going to be Al Golden. Like there hasn't been an actual coaching search at Penn State since literally before most people watching this were born.
First Penn State coach to be fired for performance on the field.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this, it's with Penn State, and it's just we've been very lucky. It's similar to the Pittsburgh Steelers, where you've been very lucky where you haven't turned through coaches, but this happens everywhere else.
Why would I don't believe this name even makes any sense. Kirk Cignetti's doing a fantastic job in Indiana. But his name's going to come up every time there's going to be a head coaching job at a bigger program, and there's going to be some of those jobs available this offseason. So, this doesn't really make much sense to me. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think a big thing with Cignetti and Penn State too is that he's from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
He cut his teeth a lot. His first head coaching job was at IUP, which is Indiana University of Pennsylvania, which is a school outside of Pittsburgh. So I think the Pennsylvania ties
his dad was a legendary coach there.
Yeah, his dad's like one of the most the name Cignetti is so renowned in Western Pennsylvania in football circles. I think that's a big part of it. Now, I mean, I think I've said this to a couple people in the last 24 hours. So I think his bravado and his attitude is something that would be much needed in this program right now. But yeah, I don't see him. I think if Cignetti leaves Indiana, I don't see for another Big Ten gig. I think if Cignetti leaves, it's he jumps on Florida, LSU, if things go sideways and it opens, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard similar, and nothing that would be even able close to confirm, but I've heard murmurs that if he would leave Indiana, it would be for more likely an SEC job, and that he likes the potential idea of the challenge of the SEC, but I agree with Marty in general, though. I don't see it happening with Penn State. I think it would be a home run hire, but it also goes back to the age thing for Penn State. Like, Cignetti's 64. How many years do you realistically have him if you hire him now? It's a great hire for Indiana right now, and it's one that Indiana should be able to parlay into a good coaching hire once Cignetti leaves, whether that's, he sticks around Indiana for a while and then retires or goes elsewhere. But just while it would be, I think, great in the short term for Penn State, I don't think it's a great long-term fit.
I also think, real quick, one more with Cignetti. The idea of when you move coaching jobs, you usually say, I want to go somewhere I can win a national championship, right? And most years you can't do that at Indiana. But after what we saw yesterday, you could sell me on Indiana winning a national championship.
Yeah, the landscape in college football is and has basically changed forever. No longer teams like Indiana not win a national championship. So you're absolutely right, Marty. That's what some of these coaches are probably thinking.
Country right now, that goes a long way.
What's that?
Said you may have the best quarterback in the country right now, and that goes a long way.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have a really good offseason, transfer portal, hit the right quarterback. You're a good coach. Now you can win a national championship. That's just going to be the way it is in college football from now on. That means parity is going to be like it's never been before. So yeah. Manny Diaz, former Penn State defensive coordinator. What about which side of the ball is that important, do you think, for knowing, of course, that if you do bring in a defensive guy, well, that means Knowles is gone.
Yeah.
So are you most likely looking at an offensive coach?
I personally, and now I know a lot of times, the trend in football, my last hire was an offensive hire. The next one's going to be defensive, which would be what would be at Penn State because James Franklin, offensive background. I personally think it will be because if you look at Penn State in recent years, what's been the issue? It's been the offense, right? It hasn't mattered if it's Brent Pry, Manny Diaz, Tom Allen, Jim Knowles. The defense has been fine. And like you said, I think if you're Penn State, if you're sitting here and you're Pat Kraft, hey, I already have a elite defensive coordinator here. Go target an offensive guy, and then if they want to keep Knowles, great. That could be honestly that could be something that makes this an appealing job, is having Jim Knowles already here coming in for a coach, right? Because that's your two biggest hires for your coordinators, and you don't have to make a defensive coordinator hire if you don't want to. So
going back to it, I think, and now of course we got to see what the fallout is roster wise in a couple months. Notably, there used to be a 30-day transfer portal window after a coach was fired, but for Penn State's sake, that just got changed last week. It's now if your coach is fired, and I'm assuming it started last week. Could be wrong, but it's now if your coach is fired, you have starting 5 days after the new coach is hired. Players have 15 days to enter the portal. So Penn State shouldn't lose anybody in the immediate, if I'm reading that new bylaw correctly with the transfer portal. But if you're a new coach too with Jim Knowles, and again, going back to that 3-year thing, if Penn State can bring back enough younger pieces on defense, maybe 2026 isn't a great season, but you're setting yourself up for potentially a big year in 2027 if you have Jim Knowles have enough pieces roster-wise that are staying over into the new coaching staff. Again, it's not going to be shouldn't be a long turnaround. You could realistically have one of the best defenses in the country within 2 years with Knowles. So going back to your original questions about offense versus defense, I don't think it should be a disqualifier if their offense or defense, which either way. If I'm Pat Kraft, I'm probably favoring the offensive side of the ball just with the way college football is going these days.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, we've seen plenty of very good defense coordinators turn into very good head coaches, including that guy down in Georgia who just keeps on winning games.
Okay. And then I think there's just one more, and this might be the most interesting one. Matt Rule.
I'm definitely afraid it's going to be Matt Rule out of laziness. Matt Rule, to give everyone the back, everyone knows who Matt Rule is. For those who don't know, Matt Rule went to State College High School. He played at Penn State. He was the head coach at Temple, and Pat Kraft was the athletic director there. He and Pat Kraft are best friends. I mentioned this last night on the show. I believe they're the godfather to each other's children. This would be such a lazy hire. If you think James Franklin's bad against top 25 teams, go look at Matt Rule's record. He has 3 wins in his career against top 25 teams. They've all come in 2016 or earlier, so he hasn't had one in 10 years, and they were against AAC schools. So, you're beating a number 25 Navy, a number 22 East Carolina. Matt Rule would be, in my opinion, a significant downgrade from James Franklin. You don't fire James Franklin to hire Matt Rule unless you're Pat Kraft, who wants to get your best friend. You want to get your best friend back working with you, while also the fact that, you can give your best friend his dream job in the process. If it's Matt Rule, I'm afraid there's a chance of it. If it's Matt Rule, I'll be livid. I'll be absolutely livid.
Well, I know what Matt Rule can do, and that is, if he's obviously buddies with Kraft, he could definitely help Matt get a nice little contract boost from Nebraska. Say, hey, do me a favor, and let's spread the rumor.
Hope that's where this is going with the Rule stuff. I mean, Rule, it was always going to be brought up again because he's from State College. He's a Penn State guy, but yeah.
I actually would be slightly surprised if it's Rule, just because one, if you're Matt Rule, you have Nebraska not slowly, but heading in the right direction. It may not be as fast as some Nebraska fans wanted, but Nebraska is heading in the right direction under Matt Rule. They are having momentum. They're gaining some momentum. They're off to a good start this season. Go to Penn State. You're going to have to, start with a blank slate almost. You're not going to have your roster. Maybe you would be able to bring Dylan Raiola, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to be Matt Rule. I think it would be more so a lazy hire. But also, Nebraska has a lot of reasons right now. I'm sure Nebraska's administration is happy with Matt Rule. They have a lot of reasons to want to keep him around in Lincoln going forward, especially in an expanded college football playoff. I don't think it's unrealistic to think Nebraska could be a playoff team in the future. I mean, they would have to win a couple big games in the process, but I mean, James Franklin was able to make the playoffs without winning big games, right? So I think there's, like you said, a lot of reasons for Nebraska to want to keep him around and maybe get an extension done there. So I think Matt Rule is going to get a new contract out of this, but I don't think it's going to be necessary from Penn State's side. Yeah, I mean, it would be, I think, one of those real decisive hires. I think it would be with the Paterno people, it would be really, really big hire for them. They'd love it.
They'd love it.
For a lot of the other fan base, the younger side of the fan base, I don't think they would love it as much. I think there's a lot of fans who, if there's one thing they liked about Franklin was that they kind of Franklin and Penn State kind of did to a degree separate themselves from Paterno as that coaching staff in this era was a different entity. They still, honored Paterno in many ways, but James Franklin did not go out and, just invoke the name of Paterno just to win votes per se. With Matt Rule coming, there would be a lot of, Paterno discussion around that. And I think the best thing for Penn State going forward is just to not try to invoke the Paterno years. In a way, I just think let that part of Penn State era be. And, this is a chance to kind of form a new identity of the football program. And I feel like Matt Rule would just be kind of continuing that identity and not really set it. It wouldn't be a groundbreaking hire for me. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, and I think, too, you mentioned the Paterno people. It's sad, but this is true. There's a portion of this fan base that would rather go 8-4 with Matt Rule than go 11-1 to make the playoff with somebody else because they're just going to be so hell-bent. There's a large portion of the fan base, of the alumni base, that if you have no ties to Penn State or no ties to Joe Paterno, they don't think you should even be considered. But yeah, I'm with you. Rule would not. That wouldn't be a great. It would be a bad hire in my opinion. Again, you don't fire a coach to hire a coach who's lesser than them, and no matter how you want to try and look at it, every data point available tells you Matt Rule is not as good of a coach as James Franklin is. All
right, we've got 4 suggestions. Let's zip through them here. This is not going to happen, William.
No, Jim Harbaugh. Not allowed. There's a show cause there.
And plus, Jim Harbaugh picked San Diego / LA for a reason.
Yep.
So he left Michigan. Trust me, he didn't leave Michigan to go coach against him at Penn State. That's not happening.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we ever see Jim Harbaugh coach anything but the NFL.
Yes.
And the thing about the NFL is he's probably going to, warm out his welcome in LA within a few seasons just because outside of, he even did at Michigan before he was doing it at Michigan before they turned it around. But,
he was almost fired. Yeah.
He's a coach that is historically kind of hard to work with. And, I wouldn't be surprised if he's only with LA for a while. I think ultimately he's going to either disappear or end up on TV as an analyst somewhere.
Okay. Lane Kiffin from Doc.
I would love it. I love Lane Kiffin. I think Lane Kiffin's a coach. You get him to more of your traditional blue blood type of program. He's capable of winning a national championship. Dylan, I know you're going to agree with me here, though. Culturally, Lane Kiffin and Penn State. Oh boy, he's
the
coach, but
if he's the antithesis to Joe Paterno, right?
You can't do more of a 180 from Joe Paterno,
right?
In the Penn State way than Joey Firstwater.
I don't think Penn State fans. I think Penn State fans would love to hire for the most part, but there would be definitely a big fan base that would not enjoy the antics of that.
As I mentioned earlier, there's a big portion of donors who don't want to donate money to James Franklin. They're not going to Lane Kiffin.
Now, on the other end, I think Kiffin's a good coach.
I think he's a great coach.
I think he's a great coach. I don't know if he's an elite coach.
No, he may not be. Again, I think that would be and I'd give that hire an A. I
think it would be worth a shot if.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm not sure. there's very few coaches I think we've mentioned. Maybe not any. Maybe Signetti's the only one that I would be like, oh, Penn State can absolutely get to where they want to be with him. But I mean, that's just kind of the thing about this hire is that there's very few coaches out there, coordinators or sit-in head coaches that really make me go, yeah, he's the type of hire that can get it. Maybe Kiffin's that guy, but it wouldn't be one of those for sure things, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Next. Lee Taylor wants you to go Army and Jeff Monken.
No.
Like
I get why the academy
option?
guys. Yeah, you don't run the triple option. You run the triple option if you're a program that doesn't have the Jimmies and Joes, right? That's why the academies do it. That's why you
post 2011 Penn State could have ran the triple option.
Oh, they could have in 2012 and 2013, absolutely, but no, no.
Okay, and here's a good one. Connor with Dion.
There would be again the antithesis of Joe Paterno here. It would not go over well for a lot of older Penn State fans.
Yeah, I also don't think Deion Sanders is a good coach.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
He's fun, but he's
not good.
This one actually I like. I actually like this one a lot. Pat Fitzgerald.
I just don't think I don't think a Big Ten score, Power 4 score right now is going to touch him.
Yeah.
With the whatever that was at Northwestern. I honestly haven't read about that for a while, so I don't want to say what or what did not happen because I don't know the entirety of the truth. But I mean, it would definitely feel like when he was at Northwestern, there was a lot that made him feel like a Penn State coach. But I don't think it would be the right move right now.
I also think with Fitzgerald, if you look at his last couple years in Northwestern, the game was very quickly passing him by.
Okay, now I'm going to run through the NFL in just a bit, but I'm going to throw some more college names at you. Yeah. Again, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this. Matt Campbell.
Campbell's one I flip-flop on. I would worry Campbell wouldn't recruit enough. I don't know. Again, recruiting's a lot easier to do when you have the Penn State logo on your sweater instead of Iowa State. But I worry Campbell wouldn't be able to recruit at the level you need to recruit at. You know, kind of similar to Mike Norvell at Florida State. You're not going to recruit the level you need to recruit at that gets where you want to be.
Good coach, but Iowa State to Penn State's a big jump.
Yes.
And the level of competition you're facing is on average on a weekly basis is quite a bit higher than
there are people who believe that he's going to be an NFL head coach. So.
I like him a lot. Him a lot.
Yeah, I think he'd be a really good NFL coach. Yeah,
but in the NFL you don't have to recruit. So
that's the thing. That's my biggest concern with Campbell is his ability to recruit at a high level.
Elite developer of talent. But at Penn State, you need to be an elite recruiter and an elite developer of talent. And James Franklin, to his credit, did both pretty well in most spots, but he didn't get it right. He didn't get the development part right at quarterback or wide receiver the last 5 years. So Penn State needs to find a guy who can do both, which, again, narrows your list of potential hires down to very few.
PJ Fleck.
I'll take this one, Marty.
Go ahead.
Since I get to cover PJ on a weekly basis. Big fan of PJ Fleck as a head coach. I don't think he would work at Penn State. I'm not sure he can recruit well enough at Penn State. I mean, he recruits well at Minnesota, and he's another guy who gets a lot out of the talent, but I don't know if he'd be able to recruit well enough at Penn State. And he is a guy that I don't want to say winning's not important to him, but he definitely is a guy who enjoys the process of week in, week out football. And at Penn State, I mean, he gets upset about losses, but at Penn State, you got to be angry about losses. And I just don't know if it'd be a good cultural fit for Penn State. I just don't know how Penn State fans would take on his personality.
Okay. What about Bobby Petrino?
Oh, God. I mean, first off, I'm assuming Arkansas.
Does he bring the motorcycle?
Long time, or full time, whatever. I'm so flustered by even hearing the name, but yeah, no, just no.
Definitely know that.
What Marty said.
Okay. How about this one? Kalani Sitake.
See, Sitake to me, he's a
in
guy,
a perfect spot.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. West Coast development type of school.
Yeah. He's got a really good staff. I mean, that's a heck of a staff he's got.
I don't know Sitake, if he leaves BYU, finds the success he's had at BYU. It's similar to like Fleck with Minnesota and Campbell with Iowa State. I think he's just in the right spot.
Okay.
Yep.
This is a good one. EMU Eagle 29 with John Gruden.
I'd be very curious how John Gruden would handle the college game.
What a great recruiter John Gruden would be. Imagine John Gruden going to your living room, your high school kids' living room.
It would honestly be one of those hires that is either going to be a complete success or he's going to be a complete failure, and you're going to end up with a crap ton of recruiting violations in the process.
To me, if you're going to go with the former great coach who's currently in media and not coaching anywhere, it's not Gruden. And said coach would probably
wait. I know who you're going to say.
I know who I'm going to say.
Let me say it for you. Yes. It's obviously Gary DiNardo of the Big Ten.
Yes, you got it. Big Ten.
Oh my Lord!
Experience. No,
the guy's been out of football way too long.
If you're going to go that route, and even if you don't want to go that route, this guy's probably still one of my first calls. Call Urban Meyer. If Urban Meyer has a desire to come back into coaching and is fully committed to this thing, you're going to be extremely successful. You're going to win a lot of football games. You're going to potentially win a national championship.
What would be the reason that they wouldn't?
That's what I'm saying. There's no reason not to at least call Urban and gauge interest.
Sure.
And there's been enough smoke in the last 24 hours or so around Urban Meyer and Penn State. Urban Meyer nearly became the head coach of Penn State one time before. I think there's been enough smoke there that I'm willing to bet that Pat Kraft is going to at least make a phone call and see what he has to say.
Outside of my DiNardo joke, I mean, I do wonder how they would handle the controversy that comes with Urban Meyer on the side. Right.
Who cares? Win football games. That's all I care.
I agree. He would. I would have no doubt that Penn State would be an elite program with Urban Meyer. No doubt in the world. But also, you're probably going to be back trying to find a head coach in like 4 years. Now, Penn State fans would be very happy with that if it meant they won a national championship in the process.
Yeah.
But long term, I don't know how much. But I think you call him and just make him say no, right? And while you're at it, it's going to be a waste of 5 minutes. But call Nick Saban. Make Nick Saban tell you no. What's the worst that happens? He tells you no. But I also wouldn't think it's a bad idea if you're mad. Marty has to be worried about how much I keep saying Matt Rule here when I mean Pat Kraft. Maybe it's a Freudian slip. But if you're Pat Kraft also, I don't think it'd be a bad idea just to call Nick Saban and ask him, hey, if you were me, who would you be giving a call to right now? I mean, Nick Saban knows.
He left, though, for a reason, and he was smart he left. Yeah.
He would never take the job. But I would also just call him just to, make him say no anyway, because it's Nick Saban. He's technically out there.
Sure.
But also, I think you could benefit from just straight up, asking him who he would, consider.
And the thing is, Nick Saban and James Franklin have a very good relationship. So I'm sure there's other people within the Penn State program Nick has that relationship with. Like you said, Dylan, nothing else to call him and just, bounce ideas, bounce names off him, get some input. Right. Okay. What more college name?
I've got a bunch more.
Well, this is one that it's probably not going to be on the list.
Go ahead.
Hear me out.
Is he an assistant?
No, he's a head coach in the SEC.
Okay. The SEC.
Where I've never liked the culture fit, and I can still see things going sideways.
I've got one guy from the SEC on my list, but go ahead.
If things don't go well the next few weeks for LSU.
Oh my God!
Out of Baton Rouge.
Oh,
I'm
God.
just saying. I think he's a Northeast guy. I'm not saying it's gonna. I would even.
But if it doesn't go well at LSU, then that means it didn't go well at Notre Dame, and it didn't go well
Well,
at
but it went
LSU.
well at Notre Dame. He never. He had
Well,
one bad year at Notre
yeah.
Dame. It was all. I just think culturally he fits the Northeast and Midwest much more. That's all.
Is he gonna be holding a piece of coal or something during his introductory press conference?
Yeah, probably something to like that and try and talk with a Ginger accent. Well,
he's gonna be have a thing of pierogies and some coal.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. That's the one where I could see where things you get to a point in a month where maybe Brian Kelly and LSU are both looking for an exit strategy. I never liked that cultural fit there to begin with. Just one to stash away if we get to that point. Because I think he's a guy who would fit very well at Penn State for a lot of different reasons. But again,
without a doubt,
LSU.
Without a doubt, very good head coach. But not one of those coaches that is kind of historically like hard to deal with. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's fair. And he did also kill a kid, so.
I don't think the culture fit is there at LSU, but I'm not sure the culture fit is at Penn State either.
Yeah, I just meant culturally more if he's a Northeastern.
But if he was able to fit at Notre Dame, he could fit at Penn State.
Yeah. People say all the time how a big reason why Penn State and Notre Dame recruit a lot of the same kids. It's not even just the talent; it's just the kind of kid that goes to Notre Dame is very similar to the kind of kid that typically goes.
I like playing this name game. So I mean, we can rapid fire yes or no.
Yeah, continue. I just want to throw that one out there because I was pretty certain, Greg, you weren't going to have that one on your list.
No, I wasn't. All right, so go ahead. Yes or no? I've got 6 more from the Power 4. Here we go. Sure. Brent Key.
He would be on my short list.
Love Brent Key, Dylan.
He would be on my short list. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
he's a great head coach. Though he's a Georgia Tech alum, so I think he's.
But there's only so far you could take that program.
Right, and to him, it's how much does he love Georgia Tech? Right?
Yeah.
I could see him want to stay there forever, but he'd be on my short list of like 10, 12 names. Sure.
Lance Leipold.
I think he's good, but I would say no.
I think if you hire Lance Leipold, it's because he struck out on some other guys.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jeff Brom.
He would be a couple of years ago. I would have been intrigued by it, and I still think he's a good coach, but I don't.
I think Brom. It's similar boat to PJ Fleck. It's that middle tier Power 4 type school is just a perfect fit for him.
Okay.
So that's where I'm at that.
Eli Drinkwitz.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. He honestly, after Urban Meyer would be my first call, Drinkwitz might be my second. Third at worst.
Yeah.
Frank Reich.
I forgot he was coaching Stanford.
No, but if he wants to return to my Eagles and take over as OC again, that'd be.
Well, cool. He wants to come be the quarterback coach for the new guy at Penn State. I'll take that.
Yeah.
How about going? It worked once before. How about going back to Vanderbilt with Clark Lee?
That's one that intrigues me.
Penn State fans would hate it because of the Vanderbilt connection.
That's where it's challenging because, it's similar. Like when Brent Pry was fired, and now a lot has happened since then. My first thought was like, man, Andy Kotelnicki would be a great fit for Virginia Tech, but can you sell hiring another Penn State coordinator? I think that would be a similar position here because I think Clark Lee is really good, and if he wants to get out of Vandy and find a bigger job, he's going to be able to. But like you said,
but he also may not have to look far.
Going back to that well would be tough
because that Auburn job could open up sooner than later.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
Okay, here are 6 names from the group of 5. Eddie George.
I'll pass.
Yeah,
big just pass. Too unproven.
Bob Chestnut.
I'd also pass, but I understand why people wouldn't.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Dan Mullen.
Pass.
Yeah, that was a popular name back
years ago.
Many years ago, but not a good enough recruiter.
Jim Mora.
Definite pass.
He's still coaching? Oh yeah, he's at UConn. Sorry, UConn. Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that one.
And then, because I want your take too. Obviously, I didn't get this for you, Dylan. John Sumrall.
Definitely on the short list.
And again, what do you guys think about Ricky Ronnie?
Old Dominion could win a playoff game this year. I don't think they're going to get in. It's going to be the AAC champ, but they get in and win a playoff game, and they'd have a hard time selling that because when Ricky Ronnie got hired to be Old Dominion's head coach, Penn State's fan base was doing backflips. And now looking back on it, revisionist history, Ricky Ronnie was a much better offensive coordinator than he got credit for in the moment, but people were not sad to see him go.
I don't think you can hire a James Franklin assistant.
You also can't hire someone off the James Franklin tree right now. That's part of the reason why I don't think Manny Diaz. I don't think Manny gets the job, but that's one of them.
Right. I don't think Manny would be a great hire. It would be a bad hire in my opinion. But he's like the only assistant that he's had that I think would be like you could not include in that idea of not hiring a Franklin assistant, but Ronnie's too close to being a Franklin disciple.
Yeah. Also, and again, not that this necessarily matters because it's a profession, it's a business. I get that. Ricky Ronnie and James Franklin are legitimately best friends. And I mean, I know James is the godfather to Ricky's daughter. Like, their wives are best friends. Okay. That throws a whole wrench in all of this too.
Okay.
One guy you didn't mention that I think absolutely worth mentioning though, and would be my first call because of age, what he's done at his current program. I would call Kelly Dunham.
Oh yeah, that was almost like it was too easy. We skipped it.
Yeah, I said, Urban would be my first call. When I said Drinkowitz would either be my second or third call. The other guy that I'm calling right after, if Urban tells me no, is Dillingham. If I'm say like his Power 4 coach, Dillingham and Drinkowitz are my first two calls.
Okay. Yeah. Do you agree with that, Dylan? Dillingham and Drinkowitz, top two?
Yeah. I mean, of sitting head coaches.
And maybe Urban Meyer, Brent Key, John Summerall. Maybe that would be like a top five.
Roughly, yeah. I think in general, Dillingham and Drinkowitz both fall into like that perfect category of sitting head coaches who are not too old. I mean, Dillingham's 35, so he's still pretty young. But good recruiters, good talent developers. What was that?
I was going to say, I'm pretty certain Kenny Dillingham's like a month younger than I am. He's definitely not old. I mean, I feel old.
Exactly.
I'm not.
I mean, Drinkowitz is only 42. I mean, those are the perfect guys in that mold. If you're going to go older, I think it has to be like Urban Meyer. And you could throw Signetti in there. But
the only way I'm going someone over like mid-50s is if it's Urban or Signetti.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, and I know we didn't mention them yet, but I think, you know, you move past current head coaches. I would have a lot of coordinators who would be higher on the list for me than a lot of the other sitting head coaches that we mentioned.
Yeah, that's what I want to do with two more things. One, take a quick look at the NFL list. And also, by the way, Danny Miller, one of our viewers, did add Joe Brady to the list, another NFL
That's another guy I would give a call. I mean, Joe Brady has the ties to Penn State. Before he went to LSU and really made his name, he was grad assistant at Penn State in 16 and 17.
It has been a name that's popped up on from fans too the last couple of weeks.
Joe Brady, okay.
Yeah, and I know when they hired Koldenicki, Brady was in consideration for offensive coordinator. I just get the vibe at this point Joe Brady's an NFL guy now. If he wants a head coaching job, he's gonna be able to get an NFL head coaching job probably sooner rather than later.
The college game has changed a lot since he was
since Joe Brady was here 10 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Or even at LSU, whenever though, a couple years ago.
How about Josh McDaniels?
Josh McDaniels seems to only work with the New England Patriots. So
yes. Josh McDaniels should never leave Foxborough.
He should stay there forever.
Let's see. How about Cliff Kingsbury?
That'd be intriguing.
My worry would be that he's never had it was the Big 12, but I think the offense would be great, but they may not have a defense.
Well, you got a defense.
If you got Jim Knowles, maybe.
Yeah. But, that would be a nice combination right there.
But I also do wonder if just the air raid offense isn't a great fit for the Big Ten just because it's hard. True. It's hard to play great defense when your defense isn't always going to get a ton of time on the sidelines because either you're scoring within 2-3 minutes or you're getting off the field within 30 seconds.
Yeah. That's true. Any off the wall names that nobody would think of?
I think I already got that, Brian Kelly.
Well, I mean, like an assistant, NFL assistant, college assistant?
I mean, there's definitely a lot of college assistants I like, but none of them are going to be off the wall names. Their names are going to get discussed.
Well, to the average fan.
Like, I love Will Stein, the offense coordinator at Oregon. He is someone I would be interested in interviewing. Same thing with Glenn Schumann, the defense coordinator at Georgia. Ben Arbuckle, the offense coordinator at Oklahoma. Another one that I 100% would be in touch with. But I mean, again, I think if you're, like you said, Greg, with the regular fan, it's a little bit different. But people who follow college football closely, they know those names, and they know those guys are going to become head coaches at big schools and soon.
How about this gentleman? Well, you're thinking about it.
I was more of whenever James Franklin hired Colt Ornicki, I was kind of chuckling because the rumor was Chip Kelly's who he actually wanted.
I don't know if Chip. I think Chip liked being OC at Ohio State because being an OC, you really don't have to recruit.
Yeah, I don't think Chip wants to be.
You can just stay. Yeah, you can just stay in the office and worry about football. I don't think wants to be a head coach at the NFL level. And that's the thing to remember at the college level, because that's the thing to remember here too. Being a head coach at the college level, being a coach at the NFL level, wildly different. College football is 24/7, 365. In the NFL, you don't have to worry about recruiting every single day of your life. You gotta focus on football for a couple of months in the offseason and not have to be in the office 24/7.
You think he'd be a head coach material in college?
He'd probably be a head coach material than he was in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty certain that most people with North Carolina, they wanted either him or Matt Campbell, but the people with the money stepped in and forced him to hire Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all right. So let's close off with give me. I want you to give me a top five. So give me a top five preference.
All right, I'm gonna take 2 seconds here to figure out that.
I've had my top five ready for about 3 weeks, so I can
go off here. Okay.
I've been ready since about 5 minutes into the UCLA game.
Are we doing no order, or are we doing an order?
I'll give you mine in order.
Yeah, go order 5 to 1.
All right. Well,
all right, 5 to 1. My number 5 is Glenn Schumann, defense coordinator at Georgia. My number 4 is Will Stein, offense coordinator at Oregon.
Wow, he starts off with coordinators with no head coaching experience. Okay, go ahead.
My 3 through 1 I've already mentioned. Eli Drinkowitz and Kelly. I don't know why I keep calling him Kelly. I apologize. Eli Drinkowitz.
I do too.
Dillingham. They're my 2, 3, and number 1's Urban Meyer. It's again, if Urban Meyer's invested and wants to do this, I have zero doubts he's going to come here and win a lot of football games and potentially win you a national championship. He is my first call. So again, number 5, I'm going Schumann, Stein at 3 or 4, 2 and 3 interchangeable between Eli Drinkowitz and Kenny Dillingham, and Urban Meyer is my number 1.
All right, Dylan.
I think let's go.
By the way, top names that you guys have talked about, but Marty did not add to the list so far: Joe Brady, Brent Key, and John Sumrall. So
I like Brady a lot. Like I said, I just don't think Brady's realistic. I think Joe Brady's going to wait and get an NFL head coaching job. Okay. That's the main reason why I didn't put him in there.
So I'll give you even 2 just outside the top 5. I think Brent Key for me would be just outside the top 5. I don't think he should be the hire, but I'm intrigued enough by him. So Brent Key just outside the top 5. And I'll throw Schumann just out of the top 5 too, just because I prefer offensive side of the ball. 5, I'd probably go with Will Stein. 4 would probably have to be Kurt Cignetti. Don't love the long-term aspect of it because he's not going to be there long-term. In terms of 10 plus years, probably. And then it would have to go Kenny Dillingham 3, Eli Drinkowitz 2. And you have to give Urban Meyer a phone call.
Wow. Urban Meyer is the consensus number 1 choice for Dylan and Marty.
I don't know if it would, again, there's a lot of, I don't know if it'd be a great fit long-term because I don't think it would be long-term.
5 years.
But in 5 years, but in 5 years, would you take Urban
Yes.
Meyer to win a national championship
Yes.
in 5 years?
100%.
Yes.
I don't care if in 5
Correction.
years you're crippled by sanctions. If he wins you a national championship,
Correction.
and again, the Michigan thing proves the NCAA.
Let me rephrase this. Let me rephrase this since we are, betting minded here. If would you put down a bet for Urban Meyer to win a national championship within 5 years if he was hired at Penn State?
Yes.
Yeah,
I would take that. I would take that bet.
Yes.
Like, look at his track record. He won 10 games at Bowling Green, which doesn't happen. Goes to Utah, has an undefeated season where they go to the Fiesta Bowl and just wax Pitt, who won the Big East, right? And then won an Natty at Florida, won an Natty at Ohio State. Would have won more than one at Ohio State if he wasn't dealing with a postseason ban when he first got there. They probably would have won a national championship his first season in Columbus if it wasn't for a postseason ban. That's what Urban Meyer does. He wins national championships, right? If they would have had the playoff in 2004 or 5, whatever year that was with Utah, he may have won one with the Utes because he had number 1 overall pick a quarterback. That's just what Urban Meyer does. And and again, people can sit here and say you're worried about what the fallout may be. The NCAA just proved with Michigan they don't have a backbone anymore. That was literally the biggest cheating scandal in the history of college football, and nothing was done about it.
Also,
it doesn't matter.
Nobody's going to care if it ends in year 5 or year 6 if there's a national championship or 2 in the process.
Do you think Florida fans regret the Urban Meyer tenure because his last year they won 6-6?
No.
Exactly.
No.
He brought 2 rings to Gainesville.
They just remember. I mean, those 2 teams are still legendary in college football history.
Yes.
And I mean, if Urban, even if it ends badly, Urban Meyer still sets you up for success afterwards as well.
And
as long as your AD doesn't make stupid head coaching hires like Florida.
Yeah, and with Urban too, you can draw some similarities between where Penn State's at right now and where Florida was when Urban came in, right? Ron Zook recruiting was never the problem. James Franklin recruiting's never been the problem. It was the in-game issues and getting over the hump in big games is the problem for Ron Zook. Same thing with James Franklin. Like, he would be inherited very similar to when he went to Florida. I mean, now, albeit it's a little bit different now because of the transfer portal and guys are going to be able to leave. But if you hire Urban Meyer, you better believe almost all the top guys who enter the portal from other schools would be interested in playing for Urban Meyer. He's a top 10 coach in the history of college football, right? Like, there's no
top 10 may be a little light, if we're being honest.
Yeah, that's
in modern football, he's the second best head in last 30, 40 years. He's the second best head coach.
Second only to Saban. And he's second only to the guy who is the greatest head coach in history of college football.
No, he'll lose
you
a
can
stupid,
make an argument Urban's top 5 ever
in the process, but he'll win you a national championship.
Yeah. And at that point, whatever happens, happens. I don't care.
Yep.
All right. So there you go. Quickly, do we know who the interim coach is yet?
Terry Smith. He's cornerbacks coach.
Well, that's what we talked about last night.
We talked about last night.
Too much sense.
Penn State Letterman. I mean, obviously, right now, in the hour we've been on here, their entire 2027 recruiting class is decommitted, and they're starting to lose 26 guys, which you expected.
Sure,
but Terry,
some of them will come back.
Yeah, and the big thing is that 2027 class was built on a lot of guys from Western PA, and there are a few names in Western Pennsylvania more revered in football circles than Terry Smith.
Yeah.
So Terry, as I mentioned earlier in the show too, when a new head coach comes in, if I get the Penn State gig, one of the first things I'm doing is calling Terry Smith and making sure I make it very clear to him, hey, I still want you on my staff.
I just want to pick Marty's brain here before we go. Marty, in your mind, is it important for the next head coach to embrace the alumni and such as James Franklin did, especially the last few years?
Yeah, absolutely. It has to be done. It has to be done. And that's where it's a fine line with Penn State because
did James go overboard on the Letterman part too? With the hires, at least, because
that's where I wonder. Because it's like, man, Deion Barnes has worked out pretty well as a defensive line coach, all things considered. But the early results in Dan Connor, linebacker coach, have not been great. I don't know. You need to embrace the Letterman. You need the Letterman to be involved, and that's where I think it's going to be important. Some of these big time Lettermans. Who, I mean, we saw it when Franklin got hired. There were a lot of Lettermen who distanced themselves from the program because they didn't like the hire or whatever. But your LeVar Arringtons, your Brandon Shorts, you guys who are just always so steadfast pro Penn State, no matter what. Christian Hackenberg has very quickly gone into that category as well. It's going to be important, I think, for whoever the new coach is to sit down with that group of lettermen and use them as that olive branch to bring everybody else in, because you need, and that's where I get the intrigue of Matt Rule, because Matt Rule's not going to have to do that. A lot of those people are going to be on board with Matt Rule if he would be the hire, but it's just, he's not a good football coach. I'm not saying he's not a good football coach. He's not an improvement over James Franklin. And again, you don't fire your coach. You know, you don't want to become, ironically enough, you don't want to become Nebraska, right? You don't fire Bo Pelini to hire Mike Riley or whoever it was and downgrade things, right? You don't. If you're going to fire a coach who's been as successful as James Franklin, you better make sure the next guy is going to be at least equal to him, if not an improvement, right? And Matt Rule is not that. Matt Rule is a lesser coach than James Franklin. But yeah, I know I'm way off here, but yes, getting the lettermen involved and embraced, I think, is important. And like I said, your LeVars, Brandon Shorts, Jack Hams, Christian Hackenbergs, the guys who are just always so steadfast pro Penn State, no matter what, you need to have a conversation with them and use them as your liaisons to get the rest of the lettermen on board here.
Awesome. That's all I got.
All right. Don't forget Wednesday, Marty and Dylan will be right back at it to preview the first game of the Terry Smith era as Penn State travels to Iowa. Kinnick, Saturday night. Does that mean that'll be that'll be a late Saturday night post game, huh?
Yeah, it's on Peacock Saturday night. It's not even
Peacock.
They've been relegated. No one wants to watch Penn State versus Iowa. And I don't want to watch Penn State versus Iowa. I have to. I don't want to. I don't blame anyone who doesn't want to watch Penn State versus Iowa. But
okay. So anyway, they'll preview the game on Wednesday right here on Proline TV, the Arledge Football Network. Check in sometime in the evening. Usually it airs sometime between 7 and 8:30. So guys, appreciate it. Great job. Good luck the rest of the way. This is supposed to be an exciting time now for Penn State fans. And hopefully they get it right. And one of your top 5 coaches on your wish list will get hired at Penn State, and then we'll go from there. So appreciate it as always, guys. And we'll talk to you, of course, in a few days.
Absolutely. We'll talk on Wednesday.
All right. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share, everybody. That's the best way to support the channel, support these guys as well. And we'll see everybody in a few days.